everybody, welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me.
Down the inside,
absolutely possible scene.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We're robust, we got our elbows out.
Ronard takes the lead.
Here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
You're the one is your champion. Hello everyone, welcome back to PSGL. We seem to have been having some issues behind the scenes here, so do bear with us. Unfortunately, we have heard, obviously, there have been some issues with the new update release. I know Tom97 was quite audible about it. By the sounds of it, my screens just went black all of a sudden. Everything just turned off, so I have no idea why. It's new, but we will be back with more qualifying. So I apologise to everyone at home. Not ideal, out of our control. But we will bring you back the action now. We are moving into Q2 now. It's just about to start. Nathan, you took an image of the results. Can you talk us through it?
Indeed. So, I don't have the top 10, but I do have 11th and below. But we'll just go through the bottom 5. So, Jake Benham unfortunately knocked out in that McLaren by 25 thousandths of a second. And then we had Julian Klaffenbach on the exact same time as Jake Benham with a 1:30.404. Then we had Ruben Pedreño on a 1:30.502, and then ending that Q1 elimination was the second McLaren of Philip Prejneda, another 10th or 2 off. So McLaren not having the best starts this evening, but of course maybe they're preparing more for the race rather than qualifying. We'll have to see what they can do as these sessions go on, but of course for Julian Klaffenbach as well, I don't think we can count him out at all, because last time he got into the points in P10, he did start down in that bottom 5.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would never count out anybody, especially here at COTA. I mean, naturally, anything is possible, and anything is possible in PSGL, anything's possible in F1 sim racing. But, you know, at the end of the day, we are here now in Q2, but 13:36 still to go. But we're underway, and welcome back, everybody. Like I said, apologies for the issues. Nothing that we had foreseen or could prevent, just the way it is. And I'm not going to deny and say, or outright say, that it's not going to happen again, because it could. Just knowing the issues that Tom97 had, I'm preempting a little bit here. It's better that we're open and honest with you all, but we'll wait and see. But you're joining us anyway, Q2 with 30 minutes to go. Joris Kroes, and we're currently watching it around on his lap at the moment. Not everyone is out on track. Otis Lawrence still in the pits at the moment, as is Yoni Tormala, not to mention Nicholas Longate, Josh Edo, Barry Burramand, as well as Tom Manley. Alvaro Caraton now about to start his flying lap right now too, as he now flies through out of turn 1 and heading downhill through towards the slalom to kick off his next flying run, and one half of the Spanish combination of both he and Ruben Pedreño, who have been so strong through the course of their time at Williams, and of course were ultimately strong last season, but that was with Ismael Fassi alongside them at the end of the day here, Nathan. You know, without Ismael, are they going to be able to sustain the results?
It's going to be a difficult season for Williams, I think. Of course, Alvaro, he's been here, you know, longer than God's dog. He's been here a very long time in F1 sim racing, and over time his form has started to slowly decline. But either way, he's still such an experienced driver, which when you go to, you know, training preparation, he's probably one of the best to have, because he knows everything that you need to know. It's just about extracting that performance in a live session. And Ruben, you know, we kind of call him one of the newer guys, but he's also been around a couple of years now, and you know, he's also started to go on the up as time goes on. So I think the thing that helps William the most, and the one thing that is sticking them together, is that cohesion and chemistry. It's a very Spanish orientated team. A lot of their members, engineers and that are all from Spain or that part of Europe. So I think that's what helps them, having that cohesion, that energy, that they can bring each other together and go and strive for something great. As we do see some laps being set on the board, Alvaro Caraton quickest at the moment, but of course they are on used tyres as we are considerably off the pace.
Yep, Frederick Rasmussen now to the top with his own 130 this time, a 3.71 to go, nearly 3/10 quicker than Alvaro Carreton, who remains in second. We got invalidations already for Duncan Offland, who immediately went straight back into the pits. His first sector was a 24.660, so getting it wrong in the initial phase. Obviously the slalom tends to be the reason why you would generally invalidate, because there is of course runoff there, and if you take it too hot you can lose control of the car. But Frederick Rasmussen in control, obviously an F1 sim racing champion as well now. Obviously the year prior to Jarno winning his third, it would be Rasmussen, the Dane, who would go on to add his name into history and become a champion for the first time, and has gone close many times before. But of course last season it wasn't quite as simple. But I'm sure he'll be back with renewed vigour as always. Not only a champion in the realms of Formula 1, but also in the realms of the Formula E Accelerate Championship, which he certainly did take by the horns, and is a very strong performer for the Red Bull team, and one of the few long-serving characters that has remained in the same squad for all this time, ever since really teams became a factor in F1 sim racing back in 2018. Of course, Rasmussen part of the, should we say, the Racing Bulls squad initially, before then breaking into Red Bull as a team in itself. Alvaro Carreton has been part of Williams ever since the walls went up for their sim racing organisation, and that has remained the same now right till this very point. But now with 9 minutes and 40 or so to go, Rasmussen in control, Carreton, Crozen, the only laps that we have now seen fielded. We've got a few drivers now making their way out onto the circuit as we now watch the track get busier again. Berejnay, the first head out here.
Indeed, and maybe this time, George, we'll see the next laps coming through. We're not going to get any sort of issue because we missed the first ones, but at least we can see the lap times coming through on the board very shortly. Of course, most drivers now just heading out for an out lap. I'm just on board here with Barry Burmans, who I think yet again is another driver we should be looking at. Never mind just fighting for Q3, but fighting for pole position around here. I think he's had a couple of pole positions. I think he's had a win or two as well around Kota in the past. So a very strong track for Barry. Ishmael as well. I think he's one of those where he kind of does decent and well at every track. So Ferrari, I think, have got a big opportunity tonight. But I think a team that we should also be keeping an eye on is Mercedes. Of course, no Lucas Blakely here this evening, but Joni Tormala, another experienced man at the helm of Mercedes. Hopefully he can try and score them some points, along with Esteban Pookie, who I think got P12 last time out. So just scraping away from some points.
Yeah. So now we watch as Danny Berejnay just makes his way through the segments of right-handers and lefts. Very technical, largely, at this portion of circuit with 8 minutes and 20 to go. Obviously, Rasmussen still in control, with Berejnay now obviously just trying to land his first blow to Q2 with Tycho Hardy, who also had a little bit of a baptism of fire last season in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship. It wasn't an easy one for him, stepping in place of Brendan Lee, who ultimately finished his career with the Kick Sauber esports team, and also alongside Thomas Ronhart, who was also in pursuit of the title last season, as now Berejnay makes his way across the line and will now get started on his first official flying run to land his first time on the board in Q2. And obviously not a lot of time left, so can't really afford any major mistakes, though if they do make one now, they will have an opportunity to at least set one more lap. But arguably, you'd be better off. You need to get that banker in, really, Nathan, to have something to measure up against.
Certainly, you want to have a bit of comfortability heading into that final run, knowing that, you know, it's not the be-all or end-all. If you've got a lap on the board, you're most likely still got a chance of staying in Q2, but staying and going through to Q3. But sometimes you need that extra couple of tenths on that final run to solidify your place. And having a decent bank and knowing you've got some decent pace, he's certainly going to help you heading onto your final run. But of course, there's 7 minutes left. If you make a mistake now, you've got time to go once again on probably this set of tyres and fuel, if that's what your car's equipped to do, or go back in and go back out once again. So the drivers haven't got to put too much pressure on this lap. Just get a decent lap on the board, and then of course can continue further on. But Danny just heading through this end sector now, of course. Very technical, very easy to get wrong, but if it's a sector that you can master, it can really put you ahead of the others. So this sector here, whoever's quickest here is going to be up at the top, because you can gain and lose a couple of tenths in that final sector alone, which for esports and this level, that's hard to do.
Certainly is. Berejnay, though, fastest with the first 129 of the session. Josh Ido, though, purple in the middle sector with a 35.8. And Alpine actually strongest overall as Otis Lawrence goes to the top now this time. So it's Alpine 1 and 2. Ido in third, of course, driving for Alpine last season, the F1 Sim Racing World Championship. Well, now he's reserving this campaign as Barry Burraman goes fourth fastest. Further back, we have further names coming across the line, including this man, Jarno Watmere, who's now making his way towards the middle sector proper. As now Ido sits in third. We have fourth place for Nicholas Longue with a 130.00. Here comes Tom Manley opening up the rear wing, goes ninth fastest ahead of Frederick Rasmussen. Elsewhere, Istvan Pukki also on a lap, just beginning his, along with Joni Tormela, who's now weaving through the final sector as well. But all eyes will be on the Flying Dutchman, who's now weaving through the series of right-handers. Joris Krozen ninth fastest, just behind Duncan Hofland as well. Ferrari manacled together, as we had said. Fassi just in behind us. Frederick Rasmussen goes quicker again with a 129.847. Here comes Jarno Watmere, and third he will go. So where is Alpine? Well, 1 and 2 at the top. It's now Red Bull 1 and 3 at the top as Joni Tormela now arrives on the scene with a third fastest time, a 129.944.
That is a great lap indeed there from Joni Tormela in the mix of the Alpines and the Red Bulls, who once again are looking strong heading into the conclusion of this session. We have Istvan Pukki heading down towards turn 11, but I believe he's not on a flying lap, so he'll have to go around once again and, well, either go around again on this set of tyres or go into the pits and get set up for one more run. But definitely a lot of pressure here onto Pukki, and that the same goes for Hofland, Krozen, Hardy and Manley, who are currently in that bottom 5, and then 2 unexpected drivers that are close to that elimination zone, both of the Ferraris of Barry Burman and Ismail Fassi. Now they are going to have some pressure because they're not even a tenth away from Tom Manley in 14th.
Yeah, quite a ways off. And so now we watch as Pukki comes into the pit. So Pukki's going to be left with one shot here to set a lap in, and it needs to be inside that top 10 to make his way through to the shootout for pole position. Of course, as we all know, Otis Lawrence has taken the only pole position of the season after managing to land a swift and hard blow back at Interlagos to nestle himself at the top. Of course, eventually he would take it from lights to flag, not without complication though, because that was eventually decided back in the stewards' room. But we've got to give credit where credit's due, and you know, optimally, that is where Otis needs to be. No matter how you do it, the results prevail on the day. Same can be said for Barry Burraman, who, of course, had that win taken off him. He took the title, if you remember, back a few seasons ago after Thomas Ronha was essentially reprimanded for his moments out on circuit, and therefore the title went Burraman's way, and his first and only PSGL PCF1 title. But he'd love to make it 2. And as would, I'm sure, Lucas Blakely in time, who is not here with us here this time. Of course, we have had some retirees now. Joni Tormela, Danny Berejnay and Josh Ido. Is that a bit too bold, do you think, Nathan?
I mean, I'm starting to think it is, to be fair, because they're, yet again, only a tenth away from Ismail Fassi, and I think pretty much every driver here has the capabilities to do, you know, a mid 129.9 or even a 29.8, especially when there's that track evolution. And for some drivers, you know, more laps you do, the quicker you get. So that's a risk. I think Joni should be safe, but Danny and Josh, that is a bit of a risk. But sometimes you've got to try something different. You know, maybe give yourself an advantage heading into Q3, having more of those fresh, soft tyres. But you know, no surprising that everybody 7th down has gone out onto track, and will be looking to secure their place heading into Q3. But I think for once we have to watch those that have already retired, because they're going to be at heavy risk, I think.
Yep. Well, they're heading back out now, and we've got approximately just over 2 minutes to go until we decide who's going to make it through to the top 10 shootout in Q3. And at the moment, those heading out are Duncan Hofland, this man who we're currently seeing out on track, with Joris Krozen as well, who made his F1 sim racing debut last campaign, as well as Tycho Hardy, Tom Manley and Istvan Pukki, the only driver not to set a time here in Q2 so far. And it's going to be a one-shot lap here for him, even in this session, to make it through to the essentially pole shootout this time. So Pukki under pressure here at this point with just over a minute and a half to go. Frederick Rasmussen could have retired, much like Joni Tormela, Jarno Watmere, Danny Berejnay and Josh Ido, but opting to remain in the session and is actually out on another outlap. So quite happy to go out on another set of tyres. And I can tell you, he's on a fresh set here. Fresh set as well for Alvaro Carreton. Fresh set as well for Joris Kroesen, who's actually used 2 additional sets. So he's actually used 3 different sets this session. So that's quite interesting. Everyone else, though, as far as I can see on my telemetry screen here, they're going out on used tyres here, Nathan.
Interesting. That could maybe save those 3rd to 6th if people are on those fresh sets, but we'll have to see what happens once that checkered flag falls in around 50 seconds time. And the first one to start a lap will be Nicolas Longuet, a driver that we should be expecting to see in Q3, but he's always one of those that can sometimes fall foul of dropping into that bottom 5. So let's see what Nicolas can do. Of course, moving into the Aston Martin for this season in PSGL PCF1. Yeah, we'll have to see what he can do here with the Mercedes powertrain compared to the previous Ferrari powertrain.
We'll wait and see. Nicolas Longuet now trying to hook up the lap here this time. Very technical in terms of how this circuit operates, especially at the 3rd sector. The middle sector is slightly less complicated. You come out of turn 6 through towards turn 7, where you do meet a few or dance around a few quarters before you then meet a few straights. Of course, you get the short straight heading out of turn 10 down towards turn 11, and then the longest straight on the track heading down through towards turn 12, where the speed trap sits right at the very end. And of course, that's where we will be seeing the power of DRS utilised through the course of the race, much like we will see in qualifying as well. You also see the DRS being utilised between turns 20 and turns 1 down the home straight. Only 2 points on this track will you see the DRS used here at COTA. As now we watch as Longuet now makes his way through the heavy braking zone, coming out of turn 12 through turn 13 and making his way through the segments, the series of right-handers, and will now cut back through as well. Longuet on an improvement at the moment in the middle sector, 35.889, will look to raise the stakes again, and of course will obviously know that the 4 in front of him will not be on for an improvement, and Longuet does improve. So does Barry Burman into P3 as well. Improvements elsewhere as we now also witness Carreton all green as well. Further back, Burman in 3rd. Duncan Hoffler moves into 4th. So the 2 Astons inside the top 6. Here comes Carreton as well. Tycho Hardy improving in the first 2 sectors, as is Istvan Pukki on a decent lap as well, as Carreton goes 4th. Fastest. That's brilliant. Pukki not enough. He's out. Fassi is out as well. So's Tycho Hardy. What about Joris Kroesen with DRS open? He remains down and out as well. What about Tom Manley? I think he just about survives as he crosses the line. He does. P6. And that will push Josh Edo into the drop zone. Bad news, at least for the RB that time. It was Frederick Rasmussen fastest at the end of Q2, with Otis Lawrence in 2nd, Barry Burman in 3rd. Next up, Alvaro Carreton, Duncan Hoffland, Tom Manley, Joni Tormela, Nicolas Longuet, Jarno Opmeer, and Danny Berejner. Mouth-watering top 10, to say the least. We say goodbye to Josh Edo, Ismail Fassi, Istvan Pukki, Tycho Hardy, and Joris Kroesen. So there you have it. Some big departures, though we have got quite the field heading into Q3 here, Nathan.
Indeed, and very cheeky there from Alvaro Carreton. Went off the track and decided to set the lap time off the track, so it didn't give him an invalidation. So I don't know if that's something that can be reported, but I think if the team saw it on the screen, I think if they can, they will. But either way, if it was me, I'd still do the same thing. I mean, I want to be into Q3, not dropping out of Q2. So I can't blame Alvaro at all for being a little bit tactical there with the game's systems. But he's into Q3. He can ignore everything for now and just focus on looking to try and take pole position, and then, of course, going into that race, seeing what he can do there. But I'm excited to see what Joni Tormela can do. It's not often, unfortunately, that we see him up in the, at the top of things anymore. So let's see what he can do. Can he try and go for pole position?
The man's got skills, Nathan. You can't deny that. And in fact, obviously speaking of skills and certain drivers embracing the F1 sim racing world, some moving house as well, including the likes of Jake Benham. And we caught up with him earlier on this evening.
Hi guys, me, Jake Benham, drive for McLaren Shadow F1 sim racing team. And here we are then, PSGL round 2. Little short recap on round 1. Quali, P4, decent. And then as we head into the race, disaster from there. Setup was just terrible, way too slow in a straight line. So yeah, we just couldn't really get any moves done, to be honest. Strategy, my fault, went too long. And yeah, was pretty terrible overall. But positives to take as the first round. We didn't know if we were off pace, on pace, and yeah. So we learned a lot. Going into Kota though, historically not a great track for me, to be honest. It's always been one of my weaker tracks, I would say, just for overall pace and consistency. But obviously never say never to a good result. Anything can happen. If it does rain, I'm pretty screwed, to be honest. I have not practiced the wet at all. But we will see it as it goes. But yeah, heading into it, fairly confident. I don't really know what anyone else is doing, so yeah, he's kind of going in a bit blind at the minute, like everyone is with the pace. But overall, really technical track, really fun to drive at times. Yeah, just overall excited to get back in the competitive spirit each week, racing. So yeah, hope everyone enjoys round 2, and hopefully we can come away with a win. But yeah, who knows? But yeah, hope you enjoy.
If there's one thing that is constant, it's Jake Benham's fringe. I think that has to be the case. But yeah, truly extraordinary. What do you make of the move, Nathan, for Benham, moving from Mercedes to McLaren?
I mean, it's a big move, isn't it? But I feel like at Mercedes, you're never going to get that 100% race time. You know, it was Danny, Istvan, and Jake. They're all fighting, you know, to jump in the car and, you know, take part in the event. Whereas at McLaren now, I feel like alongside Alfie Butcher, those two are kind of solidified in, you know, in the races. They're going to race all the time probably, and, you know, I know they're two very good friends as well, so that helps, you know, having more of your friends as teammates. I mean, they're all friends anyway, but, you know, people you spend a lot of time with, being able to race with them is even better. And it's interesting, but we've got to see what he could do. I mean, looking at PCF1 and D Series, it's not much you can take from that. But once we actually head into preparation for the main season in hopefully a couple of months' time, we kind of get to see what that move was like. And I'm hoping for the best for Jake. Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed he can pull out all the stops. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit trickier for him this time here at Kota. He mentioned that obviously Kota isn't his circuit, and I think we're getting a warm illustration of that here this time. Unfortunately for Jake Benham, but we'll see. Like you said, anything's possible as we now watch Otis Lawrence make his way around the circuit once again. Obviously Alpine looking like a different force this season, and Nathan Tague obviously now taking the prime figurehead role as as effectively the team manager of the operation over there. Carries a lot of experience in that role from his time at Veloce as well, and of course has long left that organisation, was part of G2 as well, still is part of G2. G2 have essentially come in and taken over the Alpine sim racing affairs, just basically managing the team, just like Veloce have done for various organisations such as Mercedes, that of course Jake Benham, for example, was part of. Obviously Jana Watmir, as many of you will know, was part of it too. But of course now, as we always see even in the real world of Formula One, teams change hands, and much like the drivers, the team bosses, the managers change also. And with Alpine, they've now taken a step into a different direction. So you might remember quite some time ago they were managed by the Race Clutch team, and since then that's all kind of fizzled out, and now we move on to a new era where they're now looked after by G2. So Nathan Tague stepping up and really confirmed to us really that he was not kidding where he said that they were looking to make some big changes, and they certainly have. Otis arriving on the scene after his statement debut with Aston Martin, having been there on loan from the McLaren outfits, and then coupled with that, signing the likes of Danny Berejnay, who comes away after a storied history at Veloce. I mean, that carries a lot of weight, doesn't it, not, as Otis goes purple in the first sector?
I mean, it's not going to be a light move there by Danny. He would have had to do a lot of negotiating, a lot of thinking about making such a move and completely going out of his depth and trying something brand new. But of course, he's teamed up with Timbo, somebody he's been with for a very long time in the scene. So that would have also, helped get him in there. But I think it just shows the ambitions they've got. When drivers are making moves after being at teams for such a long time, it shows that their ambition is not just to get to the top, but it is to win. As we do see the Alpines cross the line, it's a 29.699 from Otis Lawrence, and that is a barnstorming lap to open up the session with 6 minutes to go. He's got another chance at setting a lap as well. He could be into the 0.5s and 0.4s here.
He could well be. Barry Burman also looking to try and register a fast lap, but that middle sector is not going to help. A 36.105 is currently registering nearly 4. It's actually 3.5 to 4 tenths slower than Lawrence in the middle sector. So Burman needs a spicy sector 3 to muscle into the top 5 here, and indeed it is P4 for now. We do have other drivers though coming through, including the likes of Freddie Rasmussen, who now curtails through the final couple of corners. He has got a series of cars in behind that are also looking to funnel their way through, including Tom Manley, who's looking for a clutch lap once again, I'm sure, much like he did in Q2. Manley just rounded the final corner now, making his way towards the line. Rasmussen went second fastest. Manley goes fourth. And further back, we do have more movements elsewhere, including from Jarno Watmere, who now sets his sights around the final bends as well. Joni Tormela, who was impressive back in Q1, now returns to the top 3 again. Tormela, third fastest, 129.747. Jarno Watmere, not great, 129.958. The lowest of the 129s, just ahead of Nicholas Longue and Barry Burman and Duncan Hoffman. So he's in good company, but would prefer to be higher up in that top 7.
Indeed, and I feel like the bottom 2 are certainly on used tyres. The same could be for the likes of Jarno and Nicholas and Tom possibly, being as they are a couple of tenths off the pace. But great laps there from our top 3. Lawrence on provisional pole by nearly half a tenth ahead of Freddie, and then Joni 3 thousandths back from Freddie Rasmussen. A great lap there by Joni Tormela. Great to see him up near the top once again. But Aston Martin, a lot of work to do in this final part of qualifying, and then of course Barry Burman going for the used set of tyres rather than a new set means he's got a lot of pressure, as he's only got 1 lap on those brand new softs. But I think either way, if you're someone near the bottom and you want to set a lap time for pole position, you want to be Barry Burman, because he's one of the drivers that can do that quite comfortably as well.
Yeah, Otis currently standing 45 thousandths clear of Frederick Rasmussen, as you can see on the top left of your screen. Joni Tormela only 3 thousandths away from Rasmussen at the moment, 48 thousandths between the top 3 as it stands. Then you've got a gulf of 2 tenths separating Otis and his teammate Danny Berejnay, as Rasmussen now comes into the pits and will then reset, look to go ahead for the final lap of this Q3 session, as the activity is certainly plentiful in the pit lane at the moment. Still bright scenes out in terms of the weather, no signs of any rain at all, and neither are any expected, so that's good news for all concerned. Obviously it doesn't mean they have to shuffle any plans in terms of strategy looking ahead to the rest of qualifying. They're not reliant on the initial lap to register a fast run. They can go out again, and obviously they'll be hoping that the race will provide a more definitive measure in terms of weather conditions, as well as we already get some activity in the Alpine garage right away. See, with 2 minutes and 57 to go now, we will be seeing the final laps thundered in by the drivers out on circuit, and it will be Danny Berejnay who will be heading out first and foremost as he makes his way around out of turn 1, and Alpine currently sitting pretty with a driver in P1 and P4.
Indeed, and I've noticed over Q1 and Q2 and also heading into this session, Alpine have always sent at least one of their drivers out first, or if not very, very early. So that's a little tactic here, I suppose. I don't know what sort of advantage or disadvantage it would give them, but they like to go out first and be one of the first drivers out on track. And then, of course, the 2 Aston Martins follow, along with Barry Burman and then Otis Lawrence as well, just heading out onto track. And the others will follow suit rather shortly. But we have got just over 2 minutes to go, and if you're on an out lap, you're normally running maybe 145s to 150s, so they should all get out and get a lap on the board in time. But of course the fight for pole position is rather intense. I think all 10 of them have those chances, but at the moment the top 3 are separated by less than half a tenth there, 0.048 between Otis and Joni, with Freddie in the middle, and then of course lots of Danny, Alvaro, Tom only 2 tenths back themselves. So this could be a very big battle for pole, so everybody's got to set their best laps here. Yeah,
and obviously want to ask all of you watching on in the live chat your predictions please for this session. Who's taking pole position? Let us know Obviously, we'd love to hear from you. We'll read out the answers as we get them. As now we see Danny Berejnay coming to the end of his outlap to get ready for his fast run. So please light up that live chat, folks, much like these drivers are going to be lighting up the sectors now for these final runs here in qualifying to decide the grid ahead of our next race here in the PSGL PCF1 Championship here at Texas. Now Berejnay certainly will speed his way through towards turn 1, flying in towards the first apex of the corner. Gil has already saying Jarno, Ivan saying Freddie as well. Who else have we got? Come on, guys. Keep those messages coming through. We want to hear from you as now Danny Berejnay flies through the slalom. We have got Barry, says Al Pacino. Robert Vervise saying Frederick for pole. I probably butchered that name. Skeleton Gamer saying, come on, Danny. Otis says Elias Pellerback, as well as Max Wilwarn saying Otis pole. And we've also got Otis from RNV44. A lot of Otis fans in the live chat here. Now, Nathan, as we watch as Danny Berejnay flies through the first sector. Not necessarily an improvement, though, but still not far away from Otis's Sector 1 split time.
Indeed, has got a bit of time in the second and third sector, but I think this section here is where you also gain some of the most time. The end of Sector 2, heading into Sector 3, he's up by just over a tenth here. So he's looking at a low 0.8, possibly a high 0.7, so still needs another tenth in this final sector, which is going to be difficult to find, being as this final sector here, you've got a long run through 16, 17 and 18, the triple right-hander, and then of course the two left-handers, penultimate corner at turn 19, try not to run too wide. It's very easy to run wide and lose your lap, and Danny keeping himself nicely calm and composed through the final corner. What can he say in this session? He goes to the top.
Yeah, it may not have been fastest in the first sector, but that's not a bad way to follow. But Otis is purple in sectors 1 and 2 now. He's registering some rapid times, but first and foremost, we have got the two Aston Martins. Longe is invalidated. His run, Duncan Hoffman will be the next one. He's improved in the first two sectors and looking for a better time. Will he loft himself higher? P5, he will go. A brilliant time indeed from Duncan Hoffman, but Otis is the one we need to watch. Purple in the first two sectors at 24.3, 35.7, and it will be first fastest after a 29.5 in Sector 3. A blistering lap from Otis Lawrence and setting in place a 129.582. That is stunning from Otis Lawrence. Here comes Joni Tormela. Caraton 6th fastest. Rasmussen in the pits. Tormela goes 4th. We also have further down Jarno Opmeer looking to bring a crunching end to this qualifying session. 35.7 up towards the line. 5th fastest ahead of Freddie Rasmussen. And Tom Manley, last but certainly not least, invalidating on his lap. He will not improve from P9. Otis is Gotis here at COTA with a 129.582, his second pole position of season 40.
Statement once again. Another pole position here for Otis Lawrence, and at one point you thought it was over. It's Danny Berejnay's, but no, never mind. Otis went back to the top by half a tenth with a 129.582. That makes it a double Alpine at the front. And then Barry Burman's fighting at the end. He finishes in third ahead of Joni Tormela. A brilliant lap by him. And then Jarno Opmeer, the Flying Dutchman, reigns out the top 5. Then we have Fredrik Rasmussen, Alvaro Caraton, Duncan Hoffland, Tom Manley, and then Nicholas Longe, our top 10, heading into the race.
Truly remarkable. What a performance from one Otis Lawrence, everybody. And I must say, really starting to rubber stamp himself as a star in the making. He's already a star right now, isn't he, folks? Truly remarkable. We're going to be in for a real treat, that's for sure. Obviously, just a quick reminder as to where we currently stand in terms of our driver's standings. Otis is your championship leader so far after winning last time out back at Brazil. He's ahead of Jarno Opmeer in the points. Butcher in third, who is not here tonight, so will drop some places should those behind start to gain a little bit more. Longe is of course there in fourth. Fassi, Burremand are there as well inside the top 6, both Ferraris, with Benham in the McLaren as well inside the top 10 with Ido, Linton and Klaffenbach. But we could be in line for some major switcheroos through the course of this session. This of course all leads us into Texas. Many points still to be won here across this 14 race calendar, and we're not even halfway through. We're not even a quarter of the way through just yet, folks, so do sit tight. It's going to be a hellacious ride. We're just waiting now for the lobby as now we get set for the race. All the drivers out on track. as they now put pedal to the metal, and looks like they've all retired anyway. I think we are in line for a restart, aren't we?
We certainly are. I'm just loading up the session now, so we can get ourselves started nice and quickly. We did have to do a restart for E-Series last Friday, and me and Corey completely forgot. So we commentated the start, and Corey was going mental because he saw everybody retiring. I'm like, oh, there's a restart, I forgot, and I was hosting the session.
I mean, obviously, it's the rigmarole we have to go through, unfortunately, through the world of league racing at the moment. But I just thought I'd show you a brief picture of the cars going off anyway. It's always nice to see. But we welcome you all back. In the meantime, if you've just joined us, we will, of course, run a quick VT, a little hot lap guide of COTA.
We arrive in COTA, Texas for round 2 of the PSGL Championship here on F1 2025. This track is known for a few things: tyre temperature, tyre wear, scattered overtaking opportunities, undercuts and overcuts along the way. Most notably, the overtaking opportunities are in Turn 1 and at the end of the back straight in Sector 2. Sector 1 though is all about being precise with your track limits, getting as close to the white lines as possible, of course without invalidating. Trying not to overheat your tyres, because if you overheat your tyres, your grip will basically fall off a cliff and you'll be left wondering why you lost the lap time potential comparing to your rivals. Sector 2 is more or less about setting up the exit for this back straight, opening DRS as early as possible and maximising your top speed potential before hitting the oh so critical braking zone here. Cut the inside curbing as much as possible as you go into Sector 3. Sector 3 is more or less about surviving. Your tyre temperature is going to be through the roof at the moment, and if you can just hang on to the car, not let it overheat, overslide and be over dramatic with the car handling characteristics, you'll be on for a great lap time here. Second to last corner, send it over the inside curbing, commit to the blind apex, final apex of the lap, up and over the crest, maximise your traction potential, and that is a lap here in COTA, Texas.
A big thank you, of course, to Brendan Lee for showing us that, because that was a stunning lap, a purple one as well on his part. Really, should he retire? I don't think so. Obviously, still a vibrant talent as the two-time Sim Racing World Champion from 2017 and 2018. Obviously, he's made his mark on the scene. No longer a professional driver for or in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship space, but obviously has made many great memories, and of course we can go back and look back at. Of course, I've rewatched the 2017 final many times over the course of my time commentating the league racing scene, and it's always a pleasure to watch, obviously, and it still continues to grow, the world of F1 sim racing, and the same can be said for league racing in itself. We now have more competitors than ever, more people returning to it as well. Great to see, and we've got a fantastic grid lined up for the start of tonight's United States race here at Texas. We can't wait for it. Big warm welcome to everyone tuning in the live chats as well. Please have your say as well, your reaction to qualifying. In terms of movers and shakers, Nathan, who are the ones in your view should we be watching? Who's disappointed you, perhaps, as well?
I mean, from the back, I expect to see Julian Klafferbach move forward, just because that's what we've seen, in the previous rounds, and, even on last game, he's one of those that moves forward in the race. I've got to say I'm a little bit surprised about Jake Benham. I know that you said it wasn't his track, but I certainly expected to see him higher than, I think it was 16th in the end. But yeah, I think it's one of those races where everybody now has an opportunity. The times were always close. I mean, in Q1 and 2, everybody going out was by like a few thousandths of a second. So their pace is pretty much equal between some of them. So going into this, it's all about getting that strategy correct, because we know overtaking is difficult. So I think the main way to overtake is by doing that better undercut, or possibly an overcut in some cases. So yeah, I think strategy is going to be key this evening.
Certainly will be. Let's just quickly remind you as to where we're going this season once again, if you've just joined us. Of course, we've ticked off Brazil. We're currently in the midst of Texas at the moment. After this, next week, we head to Britain, to Silverstone for the third round on August 6th. Next up then, the Netherlands on August 13th, before we then head on a week's break for August 20th as well. Red Bull Ring then awaits on August 27th for round 5, round 6 for China. Then comes Belgium as well for round 7. Jeddah for round 8, Qatar for round 9, and then another break on October 1st before we then head to October 8th for Bahrain for round 10. Next up then, Australia. We head down under on October 15th, with October 22nd lighting up Mexico City, with Vegas on October 29th and Abu Dhabi on the 5th of November, where I'm sure the fireworks will be raging on and the bonfires lit, ready to decide a champion. And could that be Otis Lawrence? Could he carry through the pace and the form that we've come to expect from the young man after recent weeks? He has been truly, I must say, I don't want to say dominant, because obviously we've still got a long way to go this season, but elsewhere, taking wins, here taking wins as well, it really does make him a threat to the rest of the grid. But I would never count out Red Bull, especially when you have the partnership of Jarno Opmeer and Freddie Rasmussen, Nathan. Obviously, you're going to talk about Jarno, you've got to say, greatest of all time at the moment. Obviously, has broken the 2 championships rule that has been in place ever since, 2018, when Brendan was the first 2-time champ. Obviously, Jarno leveling the score, leveling the playing field, but then later now landing that third. Of course, statistically, you could argue that Freddie Rasmussen is equally as good, if not better, because of the amount of wins he's mustered through the years of F1 sim racing, the amount of times he's gone close to the title. Obviously, Jarno statistically brilliant in his own right. There are so many metrics you can look at. You can make arguments, obviously, with the number of championships making Jarno the greatest, but do you still factor in Freddie Rasmussen just simply being involved in those title matchups over so many seasons and that sheer consistency ever since 2018?
I still think that Freddie's one of the best overall, just all round, because he's not just taken part in F1 sim racing. He's very many moons ago was in iRacing, then he's been part of the ESL R1 Championship, Formula E Accelerates. He's kind of been everywhere that he could be, and he's always been at the top or near enough there. So I think he's definitely one of the greatest, because you can see many drivers, they'll be good at one game, they'll move to something else, and they can't really get their groove very well. But Freddie just adapts. So I still think he's probably one of the greatest, no matter what. And I think when you look at his league racing results, he's never really up there that often, or it's very inconsistent. But from what we see from Freddie when he's actually in the main season, I don't think we should ever pay attention to his league racing results, whereas some drivers we normally can. It's kind of look at league racing, and that kind of translates to where we expect to see them in the main seasons.
Yeah, I've just had friend requests. I don't know why. Just coming from Duncan Offland and Jarno Opmeer. I'm just going to accept those now. Whether this is new, I don't know. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. There we are. We're just getting ready to go now. Ready for the start of this Texas race. So
need to hang fire, because I haven't got the grid sorted out at the back.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. You better get to work, Nathan Richards. Right, we better not disturb him too much longer. In the meantime, let's hear again from the one, the only Jake Benham.
Hi guys, me, Jake Benham, drive for McLaren Shadow F1 sim racing team. And here we are then, PSGL round 2, little short recap on round 1. Quali, P4, decent. And then as we head into the race, disaster from there. Setup was just terrible, way too slow in a straight line. So yeah, we just couldn't really get any moves done, to be honest. Strategy, my fault, went too long. And yeah, it was pretty terrible overall. But positives to take as the first round. We didn't know if we were off pace, on pace, and yeah. So we learned a lot. Going into Kota though, historically not a great track for me, to be honest. It's always been one of my weaker tracks, I would say, just for overall pace and consistency. But obviously never say never to a good result. Anything can happen. If it does rain, I'm pretty screwed, to be honest. I have not practiced the wet at all. But we will see it as it goes. But yeah, heading into it, fairly confident. I don't really know what anyone else is doing, so yeah, he's kind of going in a bit blind at the minute, like everyone is, with the pace. But overall, really technical track, really fun to drive at times. Yeah, just overall excited to get back in the competitive spirit each week, racing. So yeah, hope everyone enjoys round 2, and hopefully we can come away with a win. But yeah, who knows? But yeah, hope you enjoy.
So there we have it. Thank you so much, Jake, again for the second time tonight. Obviously, we're now getting set, ready to race now here this evening. We are now at a very wet, and it looks like the drivers are leaving the session again. It's damp. Can you give us an update, Nathan, on that?
I wasn't informed that safety car was off.
Until
they readied up, and then I got told safety car off. Thanks, guys, when you've already readied up, so we're going to go again.
Nathan Richards in the mud. Can you believe it? That is absolutely disgusting. So while Nathan sorts this out, we're going to read some of your chat messages as well, guys. Really appreciate you all getting involved, by the way. Big shout out. Jake Benham, I can confirm, is not 12 years old, Sandor Baku. Okay, I've met him in person at the F1 Sim Racing World Championship. I can confirm he is small, but he's not 12. Big hello to all of you. Come on, Yano, says King Q as well. We've got some Yano Watmere fans, as always, in the live chat. Keep them coming, everybody. Give us your predictions as well. We would love to hear from you. Who's going to take the race victory? A little reminder, of course, Otis Lawrence becoming a 2-time pole sitter this season. 2 qualifying sessions, 2 pole races. Why is Nathan Richards Tom Knight? Good question. Admire. It's because we didn't have the upgraded graphics for Nathan. I actually did this one off on the fly just before we went live. But it's good to see TK represented. He's with us in spirit, ultimately. But yeah, he is here. Bertie Ryland, Premier Sim. Oh my goodness. Let's have a look elsewhere. Come on, Barry, says Nicholas Rydell. Also, why not elsewhere? Let's have a look. I mean, Tom Knight does look a bit different. Nathan set up the lobby wrong. Left safety car on. That's what Victoria said. I didn't say that, Nathan. It wasn't me. Roger Terrafetta Moya saying Goatmere. Yano wins easy. We're now about to go racing this time around, and it's still wet here at the Circuit of the Americas. And there's an error. There are not enough players remaining to start the session. We've got more issues. Nathan, what is going on here?
I mean, I've made a new lobby, so... I mean, I'm getting a few drivers getting quite passive-aggressive with me in the Discord, but, I mean, I'm trying to do so many things at once.
It's like therapy, this is, isn't it? It's like therapy. You don't have these issues at real-life racetracks, guys, I will tell you that. You can't just hit restart when you're travelling. Obviously, it works a little bit different in the World of Formula Regional and Euro Formula and things like that. But we are here anyway. Apologies. It's good. More of the action is really happening in the commentary box here tonight. George Morgan is winning this. This is clear. Thank you, Andrew. Horner God. I'm not sure whether that's going to be true. George, stop talking to Nathan and let him do the lobby. I'm trying not to, Big C. But the game keeps on changing. I thought genuinely we were about to move into a race then. Not ideal. No, it's not ideal. But don't worry, we'll get there. Importantly, though, guys, we can go back and just get a refresher as to how the last race result looked. Why not? Let's talk about it again. Otmere in second, behind Otis Lawrence last time out. Yet another great performance from the Flying Dutchman as well. Butcher in third place. Of course, not with us here this evening. We also have Longuet down in fourth. Ishmael Fassi in fifth. Burremand down in sixth place as well. Jake Benham in P7. And Edo down in 8th as well. Then comes Reese Linton, Julian Klaffenbach, Yoni Tormela, Lucas Blakely, then Istvan Pukki, Duncan Hoffland, Pedreño, Crozen. Zildrim was, of course, a retirement. And also Freddie Rasmussen, as was Manley, and Ronha, who had technical issues of his own and is not here with us this evening. Obviously, with Tycho Hardy stepping into his shoes as we now take a look at the race that's coming up tonight. Obviously, just a little reminder as to how tonight's grid looks like. We do have Otis Lawrence and Danny Berejnay at Alpine, Duncan Offlin, Nicholas Longuet together at Aston Martin, Barry Burrman and Ishmael Fassi at Ferrari, with Reese Linton, Joris Crozen at Haas, Tycho Hardy, and Julian Klaffenbach coming in at Kick Sauber, Alvaro Caraton and Ruben Pedreño also representing as well. And elsewhere, of course, we do have Alvaro, aside from that, Tom Manley, Josh Edo at RB. Also, we can take a look at Red Bull with Jana Watmere and Freddie Rasmussen once again back to looking to pull themselves back into the wins column once again. And not to mention Istvan Pukki, Yoni Tormela. I must say I've been really impressed with Yoni Tormela as of late. Has really produced a clinic on his return back to PSGL PCF1. Wilson Hughes and Jay Benham locked together, two friends once again reunited in the F1 sim racing space. Obviously Benham previously with Mercedes and now since moving across. Though Wilson Hughes not racing here tonight, it will be Philip Prejneda taking over the drive for this evening and starting from the back of the grid. So a different face, all in papaya here this evening, and we'll be starting towards the rear end of the grid. But it's going to be an interesting battle as we now await for the drivers to get set ready for the start of the session. Nathan's hard at work, but we can, of course, talk to you about the championship. Otis Lawrence now registering yet another sensational result. Currently stands with 1 win. It could be 2 if he goes from lights to flag, much like he did before. Obviously, that win at Brazil ultimately kickstarting his championship in great style, and many of you were on board for it as well. Really enjoyable race last time out. I know that many of you were excited watching it all unfold. No question, I think we're going to see some more tonight at COTA, as many will predict. Nathan, are you back with us? How's it all going?
We're ready.
We are ready to go. Thank goodness for that. Well, there we have it.
Someone else makes a setting that no one knows about that needs to be changed.
What's the setting?
Naked host.
What's the setting?
It was safety car, which I had on. But listen, I'm not going to take blame because I had the settings from E-Series that kind of said, oh, they are pretty much the same. I never got told safety car was off. So.
Well, here you go, chat. Have your say. Is Nathan in the wrong or not? We want to hear from you. This is our newest segment on the broadcast. Let us know your opinion as to whether Nathan Richards was to blame for that mishap prior to us getting ready for COTA. That's 2 restarts we had, by the way. He wouldn't really make it as a race director, would he? Let's be honest.
Oh, no.
Goodness me. But anyway, predictions in the live chat, folks, for the race. I want to hear from you. Who's going to win the COTA extravaganza that we're going to be having? Nathan, I'm going to throw it to you. Give us your pundit's prediction. Who's winning this one?
Ooh, Joni Tormala.
Joni Tormala. So Joni Tormala being called out as well. Timo Kuiper saying that Nathan is always in the wrong. That sounds very, very significant to me, I think, at this point. As we now take a look, the track is no longer wet. We are now dry moving into the race. Are you sure you want to go with Tormala at this point, Nathan?
Oh, I am. I am very sure.
He's very sure. So he's going to go the way of Joni Tormala. We got Alex at Argyle saying Goatmere. Miss Riesveld saying Barry. Please keep those comments coming in, folks. We want to hear from you. As always, Jake Benham says Owen Thrussell. Yoni obviously says Vortex. Otis will win is my prediction, says Nicholas Reader. We got Andrew Hornigold. We will let him off, George. We'll try, Andrew. Alex Gillen says the Vardenator. I can assure you that indeed Alex Gillen is not racing tonight. Anthony S. Sam saying Yano. Yano will win this one, says Play Nation. Also, we have Otmir, says Lars Linez, as well as Easy Otis, says Sandor Baku. I'm sure he'll be making it hard, though, for everybody else, as we have Yano for Gary Watson, Goatmere from Andrew Hornigold. We've also got elsewhere Goatmere from Roger Moyer, as well as Andrei Glikorevich, as well as Atara saying Ishmael Fassi Vamoose. Well, finally we get an Ishmael Fassi tip for this one. Buraman says Go Goatis, says M. Disser as well. And who else have we got? Ben Daly for the win, says Andrew Hornigold. There's no chance for this one. No TMM Ardix, unfortunately, in this lobby. 100% Otis, says Finley Morgan. We have Aline Venorian saying Nathan became Tom. Yeah, he goes. You can call him either name you want, really, at this point. Gezzy Price Lover 4 says Otis easily. Duncan says Damien Curiel. Keep your comments coming in, folks. When does the race start? As soon as we go to the grid, guys. We're literally watching the screen right now. Come on.
3 minutes
Get with the program. Come on. We've got Goatmere, says Garage69. Goatmere, says JP. Yarno Rotis, says DV19 Racing. Evan Nye saying Duncan Goatland. You can put Goat in front of everything these days. Duncan Goatland. Goatis Lawrence. Brilliant. Welsh Goat Otis, says Beowulf in 3D. Let's go Claffenbox, says Simon Kaufman. Who else have we got? Nathan Boldman wins this one, says Richard Sprogis. That might catch on, I think. MA Plays saying Yana Watmere.
That's why.
Is that a toupee you're wearing, Nathan?
I wish.
I think it's alive. It's moving. But no, I'm joking. King Otis, says Darren Taylor. Prejnator wins as well, says Kuba Beran. Leroy Brown, says Will Lewis. We're now set to go racing. Welcome, you guys. Your patience has been rewarded. As now all 5 lights are lit. And they go out. And it's pedal to the metal. And it's go, 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 go. Otis Lawrence out in front. Danny Berejnay also getting a good start. Joni Tormala now going side by side here with Barry Burraman as they fly through turn 1. It's Otis in control, in charge. Alpine are certainly not going to scuffle over the lead right now. They'll, of course, save that for later, when, of course, it becomes more vital. As now going off wide, Joni Tormela, a big mistake, a big mishap, and now rejoins back in 12th place, alongside teammate Isvan Pukki, who's now moving ahead of Ismail Fassi, and contact between those two as well, as they weave through the first sector. It's Otis, though, who leads the way, Alpine 1 and 2, with Barry Burman in third, looking for redemption after what happened at Brazil there, Nathan.
I mean, what a start we've had here. We've got the two Aston Martins going side by side here with Josh Eder as they head their way out of turn number 10 and down to turn 11. Who will be ahead? It's three cars in this little battle here to see who will go in 8th and who will go down to P10 as we head our way into the braking zone. Cars moving around all the way down into the brakes, and it will be Duggan Hoffland who jumps up into P8 and further back Joni Tormela dropping down to P14 now. And we do see as well Jake Benham looking to try and move forward there on those medium tyres. And we do have Duggan Hoffland making more moves, this time looking to try and fend off Josh Eder as they head their way through the triple right-hander. And for now it will be the RBs and the Aston Martin sitting together.
Certainly will be. Josh Eder currently locked in behind Duncan Hoffland now after losing the position of P8. Otis Lawrence, though, getting us underway on lap 2 of 28. It's a 1:35.653, of course, the fastest lap. But that question is going to be given to the front runner generally, based on the start of the race, first across the line. But now we'll start to see the real fast laps come into play this time. Barry Burman locked in behind Danny Berejnay and looking to lift his hopes up even further of a reprieve after what looked to be a race win last time at Interlagos. It was all for naught, and now looking to come back again, this time at Kota, to register his name at the very, very top of the order. There's plenty of laps still to go before we hit the checkered flag, and not to mention we got a pit stop halfway through as well. No rain expected in accordance to our screen right now, as Caraton currently sits down in 4th as well, 4 tenths away from Burman. It is 2 Alpines, Ferrari, Williams, and don't forget the 2 Red Bulls. Jana Watmere looking very strong, 2 tenths away from Caraton in 4th. As now we see Burman making the moves.
Indeed, and strategy-wise, we've got everybody on the mediums, bar the back 2, that being Julian Klaffenbach and Reese Linton. Those two choosing hards everybody else on a set of the medium tyres. So strategies, we should see quite similar pit stop laps, but of course, with so many trying that strategy, that's going to be Barry Burman looking to make a move up the inside of Danny Berejnay in towards turn 15, but can't quite get ahead. It was a close one, and nearly a move being made as now Tom Manley under pressure around the outside from Duncan Hoffland as they head into turn 19, but no moves being made just yet. But as I was saying, in terms of strategy, that undercut now is key because everybody is going on to that same strategy of medium hard.
They certainly are. Otis Lawrence now is on top, but there's plenty of movements further back. Barry Burman asking major questions as they look to fight through the initial stages of this race. They won't want to burn too much tyre wear, though, because bear in mind they don't know what the other drivers are necessarily doing. Benham now moves ahead of Joni Tormela into 14th, and on a little bit of a rise here as back comes now Joni Tormela, forces his way back through past Jake Benham. That was blistering. Where on earth did that come from? Took an alternate line coming through the latter stages of the S's through the first sector here at Kota, and it's now P14 back in the palms of Joni Tormela.
Indeed, as we continue our way on, of course the 2 Alpines still comfortably controlling the race up at the top, and now we do see the likes of Jarno looking to slowly close into Alvaro Caraton, who pulls out of the slipstream from Barry Burman to keep that engine nice and cool. And then noticing further back too, we do see Ismail Fassi starting to be under a bit of pressure here from Joris Krozen, who was attempting there to go to the outside into turn 11 to try and get a move, but couldn't quite pull alongside the Ferrari, sitting in P13 in the Haas, looking to try and move himself forward after starting P15. And then of course right at the back, our hard runners still making no places on those hards, but you've got to give those at least another 5 laps before they start making moves. But once that crossover point hits for the mediums, Julian and Reese, I'd expect, will start to fly through the field.
Absolutely right. It's going to be a test of strategy as well as outright race pace. And of course we heard about Jake Benham mentioning all of that as well, as Barry Burman once again filters his way out of the dirty edge a little bit. Also at the same time, I think just very conscious of Alvaro Caraton, who's having a great race so far, having a good evening in terms of his performance in qualifying. Currently sat P4 in our timing screen, as now Burman's all over the back of Danny Berejnay, and Berejnay giving Otis some clear run here. Obviously quite a bit of breathing room in between Berejnay and Lawrence, and this allowing Lawrence to break the toe and essentially also break DRS, and this will put Buraman on the back foot here, Nathan.
Oh, it certainly will. It definitely will, and of course that also helps Otis with his tyres. He's not going to be pushing through that first sector, and I presume the same will happen through sector 3, which of course can help him if he, you know, depending on what strategy he wants to do. I think around here a 2-stop can work, but if you can make that 1-stop work, then you might as well, as we continue our way on down towards turn 11 once again, and Barry, no moves being made, and I think at this point he's probably settled where he is because he knows the two Alpines are going to work together and they're going to just sit, you know, 8-9 tenths apart before DRS zones, so Barry can also relax a little bit and the same can go for those further back. But of course those Ismail Fassi down will be looking to try and capitalise off others holding each other up, and will look to make moves forward and try and jump up into the top 10. Of course, Ismail Fassi, a big surprise to see him sitting outside the top 10 in the race at the moment, and I think the same can go for both of the Mercedes as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. At the moment, lap 5 of 28, Berejnay currently still hunting down his own teammate Otis Lawrence, and just see there Jarno Opmeer moving his way to the inside, largely the inside of the racetrack, heading up through towards turn 1. Very similar to what we saw a little bit back at Interlagos as well, where he was favouring that paddock side, as we now take a sky view look as Berejnay looks to just prevent Buraman from making any headway. Just saw there was a little opening that Buraman might have looked to step on in a bid to make his way past the Hungarian. Of course, it is the Hungarian Grand Prix coming up very soon as well at a newly modified Budapest, where of course the new grandstands have been worked on. I was there myself a few weeks back, commentating Formula Regional and also the Euro Formula Open Championship, and it looks absolutely fantastic. And so do, well, I will say the new commentary boxes do look good. I didn't get a chance to actually utilise it because they weren't finished just yet, so it looks like it's going to be David Croft and Alex Jakes that will be gracing those boxes with their presence first and foremost. But we're here on lap 5 of 28. Lawrence, Berejnay locking out the front two with Barry Buraman in third, Caraton, Opmeer, Rasmussen making the rest of your top 6. Manley down in 7th as well, with Duncan Hoffland also inside the top 10, ahead of teammate Nicholas Longe, who's behind Josh Edo. That is your whole top 10 in itself, as Benham once again goes toe-to-toe with Joni Tormela, and Benham through with the 14th.
Indeed, and Joni was having to defend all the way from turn 10 into turn 11, broke a bit late and kept that P14, and then Jake went right up the inside at turn 15, a very easy place to catch drivers off guard and solidify himself another position, and into P14 goes Jake Benham, and Joni, I've cursed him heavily unfortunately, started P4, I said he'd win, and now it's P15, but maybe things can change as the race goes on. I doubt it, but you never know. But once again, at the front, status quo. Otis pulls away, Danny holds up a bit, and then Barry's kind of, I suppose, he doesn't want to pass, but you end up getting frustrated anyway because you want to be going as fast as possible, and, well, Barry can't do that with an Alpine sitting right ahead of him. But, of course, the teammate tactics here by Otis and Danny is what we've seen a lot of times in the past couple of seasons from Barry and Nicholas when they were teamed up with Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean, arguably, we haven't seen a competitive Alpine team, not since they were probably Renault many years ago. Of course, when they had the combination of Jarno Opmeer, Cedric Tomei, and of course Simon Weigang, which, let's say you look back, and that was a phenomenal lineup really for them. Of course, Opmeer wouldn't become a champion until he would join the essentially the Sabre Esports team, joining a Alfa Romeo squad that included the likes of Danny Berejnay, who helped him on his quest to winning his first F1 Sim Racing World title. Of course, back then we were looking at the first beginnings of PSGL as well in terms of its PC F1 Championship. And then after that, it would be both Opmeer and Berejnay going on to claim more titles at Mercedes, afterwards marking Opmeer as a 2-time F1 Sim Racing champion. And of course, also Berejnay helping Brendan Lee to win his second world title at Mercedes as well. So in terms of drivers helping each other to win championships, you no better second driver than Danny Berejnay as Joni Tormela opts for an early pit stop here, Nathan.
Indeed, and I think that tells me he's probably going to go for a 2-stop here, because 21 laps on these tyres is a long way, considering that this game, as everybody knows, the tyre wear is tremendously high. So I presume we could possibly see medium hard here from Joni Tormela, or possibly a medium hard medium. I'm not too sure. But if he goes for the one stop, I think that would be a very big surprise indeed. But of course, you're at the back. You know, you was up in the top 4, now in the bottom 6. You might as well try something a little bit different here in this race, and possibly it could pay off here for Joni Toomala. As looking further down once again, and Jake Benham closing in even more this time onto Joris Kroes, and that gap now was just over a 10.5, but Joris has burnt a bit of battery and started to pull away a little bit there from Jake Benham, so I don't think Joris will be under much pressure. Heading into turn 11, I think Jake was going through a bit of a dummy send, but either way, still stays in P14, and then once again at the front, no moves being made just yet. But I suppose for drivers such as Alvaro Carreton, who we don't often see in that top 5 anymore, or as much as we used to, this is a perfect situation for him.
Yeah, a little bit of contact as well between Duncan Hoffland and Tom Manley. Duncan not giving him much room as they come through the segments of, or the series of right-handers, but Duncan eventually past Tom Manley and into 7th place, and that's it for the Aston Martin driver. And in pure response to Joni Toomala, we're seeing the pit stops come in, and Freddie Rasmussen is the first of them here, Nathan.
He certainly is, and it will be key to see whereabouts Joni Toomala comes out compared to Freddie and Tom as we make our way through turn 19 here with Joni Toomala. Of course, just heading into the final corner now, and I think this might be close here with Joni possibly jumping up into the net lead of the race. Sets a purple final sector, lots of speed being carried here by Joni Toomala. He gets ahead of Tom Manley and just behind Freddie Rasmussen. Now that tells me that the undercut is going to work here, because Joni, who was down in P15, comes out ahead of the car that was in P9.
Yeah, the story really of this game cycle so far, certainly largely from what we took from Brazil, is that differing strategies, I think, are definitely a little bit more, a little bit more powerful, I think, on this game. And I think definitely from what we've seen, the undercut definitely has offered Joni Toomala a spicy result. Now sat essentially in what we can only describe as a net P2 position in terms of drivers that have now already opened up their pit stops. So Rasmussen now 18th. With Toomala in 19th in behind. But bear in mind, we've got a flood of drivers that have still got to stop. Obviously, Manley also boxing, as well as the 2 Alpines still remain in control of the race so far. Let's wait and see as to how this is going to unfold, as we now watch as Lawrence now flies through the series of right-handers, still embracing a 7/10 of a second gap to his own teammates, with Barry Burman so far currently sat in 3rd, as he has been for the entirety of the race so far. Otis Lawrence still holding on to the fastest lap of the race, but I will say this, Toomala purple in the middle sector and green in the first, so personal improvements inbound, and obviously we're going to see more stops, Carreton being one of them, now coming in for his stop. Now it'll be interesting to see how much time he loses in comparison to Freddie Rasmussen now, as he now leaves the pits on fresh, hard tyres. Here comes Frederick Rasmussen, purple lap for Joni Toomala, who sets in place a 1:34.221. There is Carreton, there's Toomala, Rasmussen leading him through as well through turn 1, and Carreton now behind, and Manley, I think Manley and Carreton very nearly having a coming together there.
Well, they did have a bit of contact. Tom Manley went to the outside, of course. Alvaro on a very tight line kind of went deep, and that did force Tom Manley to go off track and, well, potentially lose that position he was going to gain ahead of Alvaro. But the key thing is there, once again, Freddie Rasmussen was behind Alvaro Carreton. Alvaro's came out a 2 positions behind and over a second back. So the more laps that these drivers go on, they are going to have to start thinking about the one-stops, because eventually it's not going to be worth doing that one earlier pit stop, as here we do see Joni Toomala looking to make a move, and this will be for the provisional lead of the race ahead of Frederick Rasmussen, and from P15 he's now at the top, so maybe if things go well, I've uncursed him.
Well, I can tell you this, he's purple in the first sector is Joni Toomala, so not a bad visit on new hard tyres. At the moment, 2 laps in, he's going to have the oldest tyres of all for the second stint. Frederick Rasmussen a lap fresher than his, though, however, and already 8 tenths away, as Toomala, I think, is just trying to build that gap and just really trying to set in place a burner runner. 3-second time penalty, though, for Joni Toomala. So the pace comes at a cost, Nathan Richards. 3 seconds going his way after disrespecting track limits.
How have I cursed him twice in the matter of 10 laps? Oh, dear me. I'm not going to make any more predictions, George. I think that's it.
I can tell you it's 4 warnings that he's received. 4 warnings in the first 10 laps of racing. And that's double what we have seen from Philip Prejnader and the other McLaren of Jake Benham. So he's not being rewarded for his for altogether his pace on track at the moment. He's just keen to build this. Now, I wonder if this is to try and circumvent Alpine's approach of just running away with this race.
Could be. I mean, I think at the moment they're quite content on what they want to do. I think the likes of Freddie and Alvaro, they've kind of reacted to that early pit stop from Johnny Tormola. But I think Alpine are going to probably do what they were planning to do either way, because they've got an advantage already. They can work together as a team, so I can't see them really changing their strategy that much, unless, of course, rain comes into the equation or some sort of incident happens. But obviously, other teams behind, they're all looking to scrape for that extra position here and there, so they will change their strategy as the race goes on. But here we are, lap 10 and 28, heading on to lap 11, and let's see if anybody else opts for the pit lane. The two Alpines are what I'm keeping my eye on. Do they pit? No, but Barry Burman heads into the pits along with Jarno Opmeer.
Yeah, so a pit stop now in place, and of course, as we know, there will be positions lost for Barry Burman and also Jarno Opmeer as Nicholas Longe now moves into third here for Aston Martin. Let's wait and see how this is going to unravel. Here comes Johnny Tormola, fresh after receiving a 3-second time penalty. The last lap invalidated as well. He was purple in the first sector on that last lap and is still nurturing a relatively, well, should we say, vast gap between himself and the Dane, as now Burman rejoins the circuit with Opmeer in hot pursuit, and also Duncan Hoffland with Josh Ito as well behind them. So there we have it. There is quite a difference between boxing early and boxing later. The undercut seemingly very powerful at the moment, but just how well are those tyres going to perform later on into the race?
It's going to be interesting here because they've got a big gap to bring down, but as long as Johnny down to Tom keep doing decent lap times and using that DRS to help them, it's going to be more difficult for them to catch up. So it's going to be that final sector, I think, mainly where Barry, Jarno and co gain. The first and second, it's going to be a bit of a struggle because a lot of it are mini straights or corners that you're not going to gain that much time in. So interesting strategies here, and of course this is going to cause a bit of chaos, I think, towards the end, because we're going to have all the drivers eventually close up and we're going to have so many different strategies, different tyre ages, and of course that's going to lead to more and less grip. So I think we're going to have a rather good ending here if things carry on the way they do. Anybody else opting to pit at the moment? No. So the top 10 on those mediums continue on. And then also I'm still confused about the strategy for Julian and Reese. I'm not quite sure what they're planning to do here.
Well, wait and see. What I will say at the moment is that I think the Alpines are going to be very thankful to the likes of Jarno Opmeer and Barry Burman for coming in when they did. Also the likes of Duncan Hoffland and Josh Ito, because they were all in front of Nicholas Longe. So that's now created this gap to a certain degree. So Longe hemorrhaging time against the top two at the moment, though it has maintained at 1.8, I will say that. But there's no signs of Longe gaining any time. Alpine can now work together to just grow that gap now. It's nearly 2 seconds. So the big question is, how are the other drivers going to fare, given the nature of Alpine's current position? They've got clean air in front of them, in front of Otis Lawrence, I should say. Berejnet's being given DRS. There is a 2-second gap between them and Longe, so no one is going to put a stop to this rampant run that they're on this opening stint. This could actually turn what could have been a negative, given the effects of the undercut strategy, to potentially now turning it in their favour as Julian Klaffenbach now moves ahead of Philip Berejnet on the hard tyres. But bear in mind, these drivers are going to become fodder later on for all those that boxed early.
Indeed, and I think now that we're seeing Julian and Reese start to close up to mediums, as that's going to be Reese getting ahead of Philip. Philip looking to go for the up and under through turn 50, and they're going to carry it side by side as they head through turn number 16, 17 and 18, but Reesenton does get that move. And now, with these hards starting to catch up on those who are on the mediums have probably hit their very harsh drop-off points, and they've lost a lot of pace. Hence why 5 drivers opt for the pit lane as we head on to lap 13 and 28. Still, the 2 Alpines lead with a 5-second gap over Jake Benham, and that gap's going to keep increasing. But now you can see Jarno, Barry, who pitted a little bit later than Tom and that, have now got the fastest lap, so they are starting to bring that gap down.
They are, and they're on the fresher tyres, so that should continue to happen. Tormola now 6-lap old hard tyres, so 4 laps between Tormola and Opmeer. As now they come through the slalom. Of course, Burman in front of Opmeer at the moment, so leading the next train that boxed slightly earlier on. As now we see them make their way through out of the S-bends. Of course, Longue now losing a little bit more time. He's now 3 seconds detached from Josh Ito, which will put him largely on the back foot. But just how much better will they be with 2 lap pressure tyres? I do wonder whether the strategy has somewhat betrayed Longue at this point, Nathan.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I think. Oh, as we do see Reece Linton. Oh, that's a. Oh, what's happened there at turn number 11? He's either had contact or just gone extremely deep, and that's given him a 10-second penalty. I mean, if past report that, I'm sure that will be immediately removed, but you never know. I don't even know what that was for. That was a very weird penalty there for Reece Linton, but of course that just adds to the demise of his race. As we do see, though, further ahead, Julian's ahead of Tycho Hardy, and Danny Bergeret for Alpine hits the pit.
Yeah, one of our race leaders now coming in, and we're also seeing Jake Benham come into the box as well. So following suit, Julian Klaffenbach continues the round on 13-lap-old hard tyres. They need this to be a good stop, Alpine. Bergeret, no harm, no foul, as the tyres are put onto the car. So hards now being embraced by the Alpine. They're going to have 7 laps better tyres than Joni Tormela, who swiftly moves back into the current on-track net lead of the race. Of course, Reece Linton, the only other driver aside from Tormela, who now has a time penalty against his name. Only Linton's is distinctly more severe, with it being 10 seconds added against his name. Frederick Rasmussen, effectively, I would arguably say your net race leader, just given the nature of those penalties anyway. As now we watch as the driver representing Mercedes here in PSGL for this very race makes his way through the left-hander at the end of the road at turn 11. Now down the long straight with DRS. That will be open for him. He can then try and challenge Reece Linton on the run down through towards turn 12. Linton, incidentally, though, making moves himself past Tycho Hardy and up into third. But that time penalty will mean it's all for naught unless he plans to serve it in the pits.
Certainly, it will be interesting what our top 4 choose to do. Of course, Otis is staying out once again. I mean, he's going to probably drop down behind Danny, so it could be down to 15th or 16th potentially here for Otis Lawrence and Philip Proschneider. Takes a penalty, but he's already down in 20th anyway, not been the best night for him or best night for McLaren at all. As we do see Otis into the pit lane now on lap 15 of 28, so we'll have 13 laps to go on a set of the hard tyres. We do see Tycho Hardy also head into the pits for kick sober, which means Julian Klaffenbach leads the way along with Reece Linton. But they've now got Joni Tormela behind them, and they still need to pit. Yeah,
that basically puts them largely on the back foot. Not that Reece Linton, you could say he was on the back foot anyway, because of course he does have that penalty, as now Otis rejoins, and side by side straight away with Ismail Fassi, as the 2 drivers that have made breathtaking debuts in recent years in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship now come together, coming through the S section now in the first sector, and it will be Fassi with the upper hand as they now peel through towards sector 2 proper. As they now come out of turn 6 and towards turn 7, it's Pookie at the moment ahead of Ismail Fassi, but they've got Otis behind them. Of course, remember, race leader for a majority of the stint and pole sitter, but he's got a lot of work to do now with so many drivers utilising the undercut. Here comes Otis Lawrence now up the inside at turn 11, and through goes the Welshman. He's into 14th, but Fassi is going to continue to challenge him on the run down towards turn 12, and Bergeret on the move as well.
Indeed, and further ahead, we do have Reece Linton now losing spots, and we do have Freddie and Johnny ahead of him. You know what, battling with Barry Burman, a slight bit of contact between the two as they head through into sector 3, and Barry can't get ahead of Jarno Watmere for now, stays in P8 at the moment, but Jarno is very close now to jumping into that DRS of Tom Manley, and those ahead, of course, those ahead are our race leaders, as that's Alvaro Carreton into turn 19 ahead of Reece Linton, who now dives into the pits. It's been a very poor race here for Reece Linton. Scored points in the opening round. I don't think he's going to score any here this evening around Kota. Jarno Watmere takes the fastest lap of the race. But I did notice in the chat as well, George, a few members were mentioning about why did Alpine extend so long? Because they've got so much work to do on 3, 4, 5 lap number tyres. It's difficult here.
Yeah, I mean, it does present an interesting perspective, I must say, for the final stint. And that 3.3 second gap is going to be so hard for Bergeret to close in on. I mean, bear in mind, Ito is on 5 lap old hard tyres. It's not a huge amount of difference at this early stage. in comparison. And if anything, Ido's going to have his tyres up to temperature a lot sooner than Berejnay is. But we'll have to wait and see how it's going to unfold. Obviously, we're on lap 16. We've still got a fair ways to go, so anything can truthfully happen. I think obviously Joni Tormela is going to come unstuck on those 9-lap old tyres. So we have to ask major questions about Freddie Rasmussen. But does Rasmussen now become the pawn in the Jarno Opmeer fight? That's what I'm starting to wonder here now, Nathan.
I mean, this is going to be a great ending because Freddie's in such a good position in terms of his track position, but Jarno's got better tyres. As we do see further back, though, Otis Lawrence on the charge again, trying to get ahead of Istvan Pukki, who defends the inside line. Ooh, slight bit of contact there, tyre to tyre between the two, but still no way through here for Otis. And I think with the Alpines extending, I would have expected them to have the idea that they would just shoot past drivers no matter what. But Otis there struggled to get past Istvan and couldn't. So I think now they've really stumped themselves. And I can't see them getting a win, never mind a podium, not even a podium at all here in this race. Danny, what's that gap to Josh? 2.5. It's came down by half a second a lap. But as the laps go on, that gap will start to come down even less.
Well, I mean, we'll have to see. If anything, though, Berejnay should be faster the longer we go on through the race, unless, of course, Ido is saving tyres to a certain degree. But I don't think it would necessarily be the case that he'll be saving at this point. Just look at this from Berejnay, 2 seconds now away. So he is starting to pull the gap closer together. So Alpine arguably not out of this. And if you want to talk about sector times, folks, it was a 25.4 in that first sector by Berejnay, a personal best against Josh Ido's 25.795. So 3/10 found in one sector alone. Alpine, in my view, are not out of this at this moment. So hold your horses. It's certainly all to play for. Otis Lawrence also has a lap fresher tyres than Danny Berejnay, but he has got so much work to do to bring the gap closer together now, and he's on the tail of Istvan Pukki, who's making his life a misery right now as they come through the latter sector. A switch back from Otis, who now moves up the inside. That was truly fantastic from the young Welshman. Now into 11th spot. He hard passed his way through ahead of Istvan Pukki, and that was a fantastic, delectable switchback from the young Welsh driver. Superb to watch.
Well, he's got to make moves, and he's certainly trying his hardest. That was a great move there. As Joni Tormela is going to go back into the pits here. This is interesting.
Major call from Tormela, and that's obviously going to put him on the back foot. But I think obviously his race is done in his mind, given the nature of the penalty.
I mean, if he can get back into the top 10 there, that would be insane. But he's going to have to bring back a 20-odd second gap. But if he's pitting off 11 laps, does that start to make you worry about Freddie and Tom?
It's a good question. I mean, at the moment, I would arguably say that Jarno Opmeer becomes the bigger threat out of them all because he is on the better tyres out of the top 4 in terms of tyre age. He should be able to go longer than his own teammate Rasmussen. They're 3 laps apart, and Caraton's 2 laps worse off than the Flying Dutchman as well. But then again, Berejnay back in DRS on Josh Ido. That didn't take altogether that long. And now hot on the heels, and Jarno Opmeer also hot on the heels. They're going to move past Tom Manley and running in deep. We'll move into 3rd. And now the Flying Dutchman on the tail of Alvaro Caraton. The Spaniard in 2nd, with Rasmussen still leading them through. The Dane now can visualise a plan for the Red Bull team. Will he control this race, or will he look to help his teammate Jarno Opmeer in truly one of the most domineering lineups you'll ever see in the world of F1 sim racing? Statistically, the greatest pairing on the planet in the world of F1 sim racing, and they're going to show us exactly why with just under 10 laps or so to go.
And now I'm curious to see what Julian Klaffenbach can do, because he was like 3 seconds back a lap ago. He's now 1.1 behind Philip. He could actually have a chance of going into the top 10 on those new medium tyres, as we do see Danny Berejnay making a move. Of course, had a 3-second gap, caught it back up, and is now ahead of Josh Ido, and can now look to close down on Duncan Hoffland and try and jump up into the top 6. Otis Lawrence as well is in this train too. It's now his task to get past Nicholas Longa.
Yeah, certainly is. Of course, Alpine needs to go to work. They know it better than anybody. They got 3 laps better tyres than the likes of Duncan Hoffland and Barry Burraman with Danny Berejnay at the moment as they now come up the hill and then downwards once again. Rasmussen still in front. Within 8/10 is Alvaro Caraton, who's having a great race so far. We've got some side-by-sides further back as well with Nicholas Longa now looking to get past Josh Ido as well, much like Danny Berejnay did not too long before. was unsuccessful at that apex coming through that part of the circuit. Also making moves here is Jana Watmere with a look to the outside of Tom Manley. It was not on the cards, but it might be on the cards here for Nicholas Longay, who immediately moves up the inside of Josh Edo, as now the other Welshman in this 20-car classification now comes under fire from the Frenchman. Longay, freshly removed from the Ferrari squad, now dressed in an Aston Martin livery this season in PSGL. Well, he now moves into P8, and Otis Lawrence follows him through as well. Alpine moving up the order here late in the day with 9 laps to go, and now it's the turn of Nicholas Longay to come under fire from Otis Lawrence, who's now well and truly inside the top 10 now.
That was a great move there by Otis, capitalising off the battle ahead of him, and now he's up into the top 9. Only a position separates himself and his teammate. He's gaining quickly on Nicholas Longay, burning the battery. To the inside goes Otis Lawrence. Can he get ahead of the Aston Martin? They're going to still carry it side by side into turn number 2. Otis is going to have to burn the battery and use those hard tyres as much as he can. Can he get ahead? He certainly can, and now the two Alpines are back together and they're going to push hard, use each other to push forward. And next on the list is the Aston Martin of Duncan Hoffland and the Ferrari of Barry Burman.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of team interplay here, surely, from the Alpine squad, though. Berejnea Mercedes' pace has been electrifying. Over the course of the last lap, he was faster than the man in P6, Duncan Hoffland, by nearly half a second a lap, as now Istvan Pukki looks to move past Josh Edo as well for P10 and move himself into the mainstay points if he can. Elsewhere, it's getting more congested towards the front end, as well as Pukki looks to consolidate this run as well. Burman at the inside of Tom Manley and bringing Duncan Hoffland along for the ride, and Danny Berejnea as well. So 3 overtakes, 3 cars make that 4, as now in comes Otis Lawrence past Tom Manley. Manley losing 4 places throughout, well, 2 corners effectively. Truly incredible scenes, and it was all down to the initial contact with Barry Burman coming out of turn 12.
Yeah, that was not helpful at all for Tom Manley. Went pretty much sideways through turn 12, and he's going to go into the box here on lap 20 and 28. Now, is it going to be... It's a normal pit stop. I thought for a second, is he going to call it quits because of that? But no, he carries on. And that does make you worry now about Freddie and Alvaro, because that's 2 drivers who have been on the same... Oh, he did retire anyway. Yeah, and a swap also after the retirement from Tom Manley. Otis has now been let by Danny Berejnea. So maybe this is just an indicator as to where Otis's pace currently sits right now. He is lapping convincingly faster than the rest of the field. He was faster than his own teammate by approximately, well, nearly 0.7 of a second. It was actually 0.6 of a second between them over the last lap. Otis on the 1 lap fresher tyre than his own teammate. A lot fresher than those in front, and Duncan Hoffland's going to know all about it very shortly. Otis coming out of turn 11 on the tail of the Aston Martin. So it's nut cutting time here at COTA as Jana once again drifts over to the inside, heading down the long straight through towards turn 12. No move in the offing though, still behind Alvaro Carreton, as now we watch them come through in towards the final sector very soon. Otis now hot on the heels of one Duncan Hoffland, and now the Dutchman under fire. Here comes now Otis Lawrence straight away up the inside and manages to find somewhat of a gap. Duncan tried to close it. It wasn't in the offing. And Otis inside the top 5, and this time on the tail of his arch nemesis, Barry Burman, from last time at Brazil. And they're going to face off for the 2nd time this season and in our 2nd round here at COTA. I mean, Yanni's formula is only 3 seconds off the main train. That pace on those new hard tyres is brilliant, and I think that shows how... Oh, never mind, I'm not going to say anything about him. But
you keep cursing him, Nathan.
These tyres are newer, and these hards, they're performing well, and I think it shows how worn those at the top are, being as Yanni's just brought that gap down like nobody's business. As Reese Linton, not been his day, unfortunately, will take a retirement in this session. But yeah, those newer hards are going to work well for Yanni. Just say he maybe pitted a lap or 2 later initially, and he didn't get the penalties, he'd be in a good spot for a top 10, and I think that just shows how key strategy is. Yanni's 1 or 2 laps out of his pit stops to be in that top 10. So,
yeah, few sort of question marks around the Otis Lawrence move, and it was quite harem-scarum coming through the first sector, through the 2nd sector proper. Is now Jana Watmere has a little look to the inside, but of course Otis very keen to make these fresher hard tyres work for him. We need to wait and look. Well, wait and see. Obviously, it's down to the driver in question. Obviously, that being Duncan Hoffland, to put together the steward's report if he feels necessary to report the incident. But down in P6, we'll wait and see whether that will be carried through. At the moment, as we're seeing it out on circuit, 5th place for Otis, and currently 3/10 away from Barry Burramand as they look to cross swords again. Obviously not quite on the final lap this time as it was back in Brazil. Maybe more to come as they come around the final corner once more to begin the next lap. As they come out of turn 20, here comes Jana Watmere again, all over the back of Alvaro Caraton, once again going to the inside. Just coming out of that dirty air, just trying to find something clean in order to just maintain the tyres at this stage. I think obviously just making sure they're nice and cool, doesn't want to overburn them. Has got 2 laps fresher than Alvaro Caraton at the moment, but will eventually, I think, be a little bit more conscious of Lawrence waiting in the wings, who has already shown that he is not scared of pulling off the flashy manoeuvres that currently have put him in a P5 spot as they come through the S's, and now very soon over the crest coming out of turn 6, 7, 8, 9 and later 10, coming in towards turn 11 now, and another look from Jana Watmere as they come through the heavy braking zone before they then venture on to the longest straight on the course, and then eventually moving into down towards turn 12. As now we look further back, Burraman now under fire, Otis all over his tail, Jana Watmere trying to get closer, as well as now we look and see as Otis starts to urge himself a little bit more towards the rear of the Ferrari, very nearly grazing the rear diffuser on the Scuderia, but Burraman still holding on to 4th for now.
Indeed, and I find it quite insane that, considering the gaps we had earlier on, there's only one driver out of the main DRS trainers. That's Otis ahead, looking to get past Barry Burramand up into turn 16, 17 and 18. And can he find that move? No, he can't. He went up the inside of Barry, but couldn't quite find the move, and now he's going to be more eager than ever. Of course, these two got into contact in Brazil, and it gave Barry a penalty. Do these two return to their very, very hostile battles?
Well, they return here to Kota. That's the new battleground. It's no longer Interlagos, but the points will matter, no matter where they go. Otis Lawrence not quite able to make the move coming through turn 1, but a little love tap in the back of the Ferrari once again. His teammate Danny Berejnay in at the moment. An Aston Martin sandwich with one either side of him. Duncan Hoffland in P6, Longue down in 8th. Berejnay splitting the difference as now they hard charge their way through the S's section again, this time on lap 24. 4 or so laps to go. As now Otis climbs over the top of the crest, closing in on the back of Barry Burramand and looking to surely make the move happen. He's got much fresher tyres than the others in front. Rasmussen, though, somehow still leading the way on 16-lap-old tyres. Caraton patient, just waiting for his chance, knows that this will be a great opportunity for the Williams driver to notch together their first win of the season in what could be a massive year for them in the world of the F1 Sim Racing World Championship on the brand new F1 25 game cycle as they come down out of turn 12. Once again at loggerheads as now Joni Tormela gets past Joris Krozen on fresher tyres. Remember, of course, Joni Tormela boxing again. Istvan Puki's teammate also on the move and past Ismail Fassi for now, as Fassi now searches around the outside. And unfortunately for Fassi, unable to find the overtake, as now once again Otis Lawrence pushing Burramand around this Kota circuit.
Here we go. 3 laps to go in this race, and it's Freddie Rasmussen that leads ahead of Alvaro Caraton, and not me reigning off that podium. And then, of course, Otis Lawrence, who's eager to get ahead of Barry Burramand, but can never find the move. He's constantly looking to find it, but Barry's always got that little bit of extra battery, maybe a little bit more top speed headed down those straights, and could defend that P4 spot for now. As we head our way through the first sector, further back we do have Istvan Puki looking to get ahead of Josh Eder, who of course dropped back to P12 earlier on and is now back in that top 10. So a bit of a late resurgence here by the driver filling in for VCOM. Of course, normally would be up in that Alpine team as a reserve to Danny and Otis, but for now he's going to be racing in VCAR, but he's doing a great job indeed in P9 in the points here for Josh Eder. And then of course we do have Joni Tormela, who's now on the attack of Ismail Fassi, and it just shows, George, that how much quicker you are on just 5 lap better tyres. It doesn't seem like it, but it shows it in the race.
Yeah, Jay Benham also trying to make places as well. He's on the tail of Joris Krozen as you now watch them fly down through towards the next heavy braking zone at the end of the straight at turn 12, and Fassi going a little bit more defensive on that occasion. Berejnay also on the back of the Aston Martin. There's now a look around the outside here from Joni Tormela on the much fresher hard compound of tyre. Fassi now at the mercy of the Ferrari, well, of the Mercedes in his Ferrari right now as Tormola goes the long way around and now going side by side and has got the ideal line. Brilliant move from Joni Tormola. And that just goes to show racing intuition, the high IQ level of Tormola, a veteran in the space of F1 sim racing like so many others in this 20-car classification, and showing exactly what it's all about as now he makes his way out of the final corner into P11 just behind his own teammates.
Indeed, and Julian there with a 3-second penalty, not been Julian's evening, neither has it been Tycho Hardy's. Kick say, but definitely going to have to try and, well, resurge back in the next round. They are currently in P7 on 1 point. They're going to score 0 here, so could possibly drop down to 9th or 10th in the standings. So let's hope they can recoup next week out and go once more. As here we do see Nicholas Longuet also looking to close in as well, actually, on Danny Barrage. He's looking to try and possibly make a move himself. That gap was around 6 or 7 tenths, now down to 4 as we head our way down to turn 10. We have 2 laps to go, lap 26 to 28 further back. Joni Tormola passing his teammates into the top 10, but of course does have 2 penalties to his name.
Yeah, also there was a mistake from Barry Burman on the run down towards turn 11. Just a quick moment as he got onto the curbs, and this could be a sign that maybe those 15-lap-old hard tyres are now meeting their end. As with those 2 laps to go, it's now going to start to heat up with Jarno Opmeer on the precipice, and perhaps making it a 1-2 or maybe overtaking his own teammate for the eventual victory. Red Bull would love nothing more than a victory here this time, and now coming under fire, Barry Burman as Otis Lawrence tries the dummy, and a switchback to move past the Ferrari was not successful this time. It did not work this time like it did on Duncan Hoffland, Otis. You're going to have to think of something else as they come through the final corners this time around to begin very soon the penultimate lap of the race. And we're going to be venturing onto lap 27. Frederick Rasmussen will take them onwards and upwards through the elevated turn 1 section with Alvaro Carreton patiently, as he has been all race, just happy to wait in behind for his chance to strike. Tormola on the move again, and this time past Longuet, and is now going to meet the former Mercedes driver Danny Berejnay in a battle over P7. The 2 veterans now coming together here at COTA.
And this is what's going to stump Alpine here possibly. If Joni can get ahead of Danny and then close into Otis, that could stop that move being made from both of them trying to work their way up the field. Remember, guys, if you are tuning in a little bit late into the race, the Alpines were comfortably at the front 1-2 all until the end of that first stint. They waited a bit later to pit. Otis went a lap later than Danny, and now they've got stuck in that P5 and 7. They've been there for quite a few laps, and Otis has tried to get past Barry on many occasions, but Barry's always thinking ahead. He's always got that, he's always got some way of holding Otis back. And Danny has also been struggling here, but Joni Tormola has got that move done.
He certainly has. He's up into P7. Great move from Joni Tormola, and his inside DRS on Duncan Hoffland as well. So this is not over yet. This final lap could be a barnstormer from Tormola. The only downside is going to be that penalty. Otis on the move as well, looking for a move on Barry once again, but Barry Burman keeping that door firmly shut as they come through the final corners once more. Frederick Rasmussen still with the lead of the race. Barry Burman now nearly a whole second off at the moment, thanks to this massive gargantuan battle between the two that fought it out back in Brazil last time out. DRS open again. Barry still within a second on Jarno Opmeer as they now climb uphill. Brezhnev now with a penalty as now they come up and rise out of turn 1 once again and back downhill through towards the slalom. Rasmussen still out in front. Carreton all over their heels at the moment. Of course, Red Bull maybe in control, but don't say anything yet. The Williams might have something to say about that, Nathan, and they'll have a big chance coming down the long straight in towards turn 12.
Certainly, and if you notice that gap there between Barry and Jarno, it's over a second now. That gives an immense opportunity to Otis Lawrence to possibly jump up onto the P4 spot and get ahead of Barry on that final lap as we head our way out of turn 10. Barry will not have DRS here. Down towards turn 11, this should be a given here for Otis Lawrence, but Barry will try his best to defend that P4 move. Further ahead, you can see Jarno gaining in, but it's not enough. Otis to the outside of Barry Burman. Can he get ahead? It's going to be close. There's a slight bit of contact. Barry pushes into the edge of the circuit, and Barry's going to have to go to the outside in towards turn 13, but he can't do it. And Otis is up into P4, George.
Fantastic move from Otis Lawrence. Finally, at the very late chance of asking, he moves up to 4th, and Duncan Hoffland also looking for the points as well. And keep your eyes peeled on Joni Tormola. They're 3 wide, and Tormola's round. My goodness me, 3 wide simply doesn't work. but this time 20 laps on the hard tyres. They work for Freddie Rasmussen as he will etch his name to the top step for the first time this season in PSGL. It's a 1-3 for Red Bull. They had wings here at COTA. Rasmussen wins here at the Circuit of the Americas. Round 2 in their back pocket. The Dane has done it. Former F1 Sim Racing World Champion, unrivaled up at the front. Truly remarkable scenes, and it will be Freddie Rasmussen, your winner here in PSGL Round 2 here at Texas. And I must say, in great style too. What a performance. And Alvaro Carreton returns to the podium as well. It's been a while since we've seen that, and Jarno Opmeer making it that 1-3 for the Red Bull team.